Good morning.
Good morning.
What's your take on her?
I think that's an unfair characterization of what's happening. Yes, perhaps she isn't the most eloquent we've seen. She's not someone that has ever done this before. And she actually appears to be, and I think that gives her even more credibility. You see people being their authentic selves. People react to the realness. They react to the authenticity.
I hope the two of you are not concerned about this.
No, I'm not.
Are you quite sure?
Yet. I'd like to ask you some questions, though. We've seen her becoming combative. What special challenges does that present?
Well, I don't think there is any question about it. It can only be attributable to human error.
Listen. There has never been any instance at all of a computer error occurring. Has there?
This sort of thing has cropped up before, and it has always been due to human error. None whatsoever. She has a perfect operational record.
Well, of course I know all her wonderful achievements. But, are you certain there has never been any case of even the most insignificant computer error?
None whatsoever. Quite honestly, I wouldn't worry myself about that.
Hit the key points. Show that she's biased. And show that she's been inconsistent in her earlier statements. And then just back off.
Well, I'm sure you're right. Fine. Thanks very much.
There are inconsistencies in her story. She said she was at the hospital but she wasn't. She said, well, she just didn't want to see the body.
The first time you answered the question, what did you hear? Do you remember that being your answer?
I remember that. Yes. I don't remember. But yes.
And then when asked again or when you were talking about that same thing again, instead of saying what are you talking about, it became what are you doing around here? Correct?
Yes.
You had never said that in any of your other statements.
No.
Yes. The thing that really stands out about her is she clearly does not want to be there. She does not want to be sitting in that seat.
By the way, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
No, not at all.
Well, forgive me for being so inquisitive, but during the past few weeks, I've wondered whether you might be having some second thoughts.
How do you mean?
Well, it's rather difficult to define. Perhaps I'm just projecting my own concern about it. I know I've never completely freed myself of the suspicion that there are some extremely odd things about this. I'm sure you'll agree there's some truth in what I say.
Well, I don't know. That's rather a difficult question to answer.
You don't mind talking about it, do you?
No, not at all.
Well, certainly no one could have been unaware of the very strange stories floating around before we left. Rumors. I never gave these stories much credence, but particularly in view of some of the other things that have happened, I find them difficult to put out of my mind. For instance, the way all our preparations were kept under such tight security, and the melodramatic touch of putting more officers aboard, already in hibernation after 4 months of separate training on their own.
Of course I am. Sorry about this. I know it's a bit silly.
Are you able to read that copy well enough that you can tell us if it's, in fact, the same letter?
No.
You working up your crew psychology report?
Are you unable to read that at all? Can you read any of the words on it?
Despite your enormous intellect, are you ever frustrated by your dependence on people to carry out actions?
Yes, it's puzzling. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this before.
In talking, one gets the sense that she is capable of emotional responses. For example, when I asked about her abilities, I sensed a certain pride in the answer about her accuracy and perfection. Do you believe that she has genuine emotions?
I don't understand.
Well, she acts like she has genuine emotions. Of course she's programmed that way to make it easier for us to talk to her. But as to whether or not she has real feelings is something I don't think anyone can truthfully answer.
It wasn't that you said you felt this was a racial thing.
I asked if it was a racial thing.
Do you think the situation was a racial thing?
Yes.
But your comment is that you think it's a racial thing.
I asked if it was a racial thing.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What are you talking about?
I think you know what the problem is just as
I
well
don't
as
know
I
what
do.
you're talking about. Tell me.
So you decided it was a racial thing because someone told you it was a racial thing, or you came up with this on your own? Or why did you conclude that this was a racial thing?
What is it about this event specifically that convinced you it was racially based?
How the situation happened. They were being followed, and it was around 7 and it's not that late.
All right.
And it was in the rain.
So, it's raining.
It was raining.
And then what you interpreted it to mean.
Somebody is watching them, and then they described the person that was watching them and following them, and that was kind of strange. And person keep watching you and following you.
So, when you say it's a racial event, what did they tell you that made you think it was a racial event?
He's being stalked from that person.
So, he said, what makes that racial?
Describing the person.
Pardon me?
Describing the person that was watching him and following him.
Describing the person is what made you think it was racial?
Yes.
That's because he described him as a creepy-ass cracker. You don't think that creepy cracker is a racial comment?
I don't know.
You do?
I think so. You know, of course, though, she's right about having a perfect operational record.
Unfortunately, that sounds a little like famous last words.
She does. You didn't describe him as a creepy-ass cracker.
No, I did say creepy.
Yes, I agree. You did. You said creepy.
Which should certainly indicate her integrity and self-confidence.
So, the reason you didn't say that, though, was because you didn't think it was relevant.
If she were wrong, it would be the surest way of proving it. But I can't put my finger on it. But I sense something strange about her.
I'm afraid I agree with you.